This is a quick video to review steps to bringing in your game-res mesh into Substance Painter, baking textures from a high-res mesh, and then some real rudimentary basics, what you need to know about texturing or coloring to get the different parts have different colors. So you can just ignore this. I'm going to go to the File menu, New. We're sticking with that standard PBR metallic roughness template. I'm going to go to the Select button. There's my chest low. That's what you always want to load in, your low res mesh with the UVs, and hit OK. All right. So I've got my 3D and 2D view. We're going to right away bake textures from the high res mesh. You can find that by going up here. You may have a slightly different layout on the side panel here, but I'm going to go to the texture set settings. It's buried down below. You may need to scroll down. You will need to scroll down most likely to the Bake Mesh Maps button. Click on that. You get this dialog box. This is where you can choose the resolution of your image. I'm just going to stick with this default 1024. You can ignore all the stuff on the left. This is where you insert or populate any and all high-res meshes. I just have one in this case. I click on this little icon to add in stuff. There's my chest high. Open. If you want to get a slightly better quality to your textures, you may want to go down to anti-aliasing and at least choose a 2x2. Probably shouldn't add too much time to your bake time. And then I hit Bake Mesh Maps, basically whatever that is down there, and it starts to bake. Now you may get, and in fact you probably will get, some kind of an error regarding material ID or this kind of thing. That's not important as long as you can see all of your bakes like this. So I'll just hit OK. Alright, so we've got our baked mesh maps. This is where you can start putting in colors. So over here, I'm going to go to my layer stack. Don't need that default layer. I'm going to trash that. I'm recommending you use fill layers with masks to paint out your different sections. So I'm going to add a fill layer with this little icon right there. There we go. With that fill layer selected, if you want, you can rename these. Maybe I'll call this wood, for instance. And I'm going to go down here, and you can choose a color for that fill in this fill properties section. We'll choose something that's sort of brownish. There we go. Not quite so nice. Okay, so there's my brown kind of wood color. Great. I'm just going to leave that alone and add in another fill layer. And maybe this one I'm going to call metal. I'm going to go down here, click on that. I'm going to choose some sort of like gray color. Great. Now this one, you can see every fill layer just fills in completely the entire model. This is where masking comes in, so you can start to pick and choose which parts you want to have filled in. So I do this by right-clicking on the fill layer. And I like to add a black mask. You'll notice when I do that, it adds in a second icon. There's the mask. We no longer see any of the fill because the black completely hides all those pixels. But here's where you can start to paint in and reveal more of those pixels. Now obviously I don't want to just do this randomly. I want to paint in the parts that I want to have be that color. Now you may find, by the way, I may not have mentioned this in class, that if you have a symmetrical chest, which is likely, you can turn on symmetry painting way up here. And you'll notice, since I've kept my chest centered or sitting right on the center of the XYZ space back in Maya, it's lined up perfectly so that when I start, say, painting on one side, you can see that it starts painting on the other. So you can paint over here in the 3D view. You can also paint over here in the 2D view. I'm just going to switch over to my pen. And you can see I just paint in there. You'll notice we're getting a little hint of like paint over there. Let me just quickly fill in the rest of this. You get the idea. I could even do the little straps over here. You can also paint away by hitting X on the keyboard. This is just like Photoshop, where it swaps between white and black, and now we're painting away or painting black into there. You can see it's a little bit fussy. If you're getting this kind of an issue, you can go way down here. Now I'm in the paint properties rather than the fill properties. I'm going to scroll down here and look for a drop down. Where is it? it says tangent wrap, and I'm going to change that to UV, and then we're going to get less of that bleed. In fact, probably get no bleed like that, and you can see now when I paint, it's not wanting to jump over and start painting the other part over there. And so you can keep on doing that. You can make as many of those layers as you like, pushing, sort of adding masks to isolate. Now notice I didn't even bother masking the wood layer. Why? Because it's at the bottom of the stack. So everything on top of it just goes right on top of the other stuff. And so that is the quick and dirty way of doing your baking and texturing.